So welcome everybody. My name is Ellen Dow and I am the K-Base Educators Program Lead. So welcome to all of those who are new and who are more familiar with our K-Base Educators Program. Again, today is a bit more of a orientation for the first part, and then afterwards we'll go into a bit more on any new materials that have come out in this last year or very recently, as in this last week, which is pretty exciting. So we are going to go over K-Base as well as an orientation. So what K-Base is, and I'll go into really how to access all of our different resources with the K-Base Educators Program. So like how to find those, where you will look for everything. So to get started, what exactly is K-Base? The Department of Energy Systems Biology Knowledge Base is a free and open access data science and software platform. You can upload your own research data and analyze your data alongside collaborator data and within the context of public data. So you can also use tools that have been wrapped within the K-Base graphical user interface and create analysis workflows using these applications as you go through and analyze your data to create shareable and reproducible workflows. And so all of this has really been empowering our educators. And I know there are some on the call who can attest to that because they've been really great proponents of testing out all of our great resources. So I'm excited to share that with those of you who have not been able to check that out yet. We also have additional resources on our YouTube page. So anything I don't cover here, if you're more interested in in-depth introduction to really how to use the narrative, hop on to our YouTube. And we also have our Twitter, which I run, so I announce any of our upcoming webinars and what's going on there, or if there's any new items. And my cat is going to join me, so. Okay, thanks, Lyric. So next, I just want to highlight what the narrative itself is. As I mentioned, it is a graphical user interface, and it is based on the concept of a Jupyter notebook. So you can see here that there are 3 different panels. We have a data panel that is on the upper left-hand side. And this is where all the data that is within a narrative, so within this particular analysis workflow is. Right below that are the applications. So this is a catalog of applications that are the analysis tools that have been wrapped within the K-Base graphical user interface that you can add and analyze your data with. And then on the left-hand side, or right-hand side, sorry, is where the workflow is. So this is where you actually add in those data, add the different applications, and then run your analysis there. So that's where, so this is just a quick little preview to what we'll see once we get into the narrative itself. And this is where you can also see we have some sharing, the ability to save and edit your workflows in here. And so again, the K-Base is sponsored by the, or funded by the Department of Energy, and we are based across several Department of Energy labs, including Berkeley Lab in Berkeley, California, which is where I am based. We also have team members at Oak Ridge National Laboratory in Tennessee, Argonne National Laboratory, which is based outside of Chicago, Illinois, and then Brookhaven National Laboratory in New York. So what exactly is the K-Base Educators Program? So our program has been a really large community effort, and it is, I can thank some of those people, the people on this call for contributing. We have resources that have been created for instructors by instructors, and really they're designed to empower educators who are learning or who are looking to incorporate more bioinformatics and data science within their own curriculum, and really developed to meet the needs of what instructors are already trying to teach, or to create some new materials for their students and give their students a nice hands-on, real scientific ability. And my cat is really loving me today, so thanks, Lyric. Okay, so what we have within the program are we have some examples and different instructional workflows that have already been built out. And I'm also going to demonstrate how the narrative can be used within the classroom. So you can have either, collaboration, have your students running different workflows there. So as I mentioned, across these different workflows and materials and resources, we have several different modularized workflows that utilize the narrative. So these include the topics of genomics, metagenomics, phylogenetics, pangenomes, metabolic modeling, and transcriptomics, which I will discuss more later towards the end of today's call. This is the most recent addition. And then I wanted to highlight that the narrative itself, it is adaptable, it's customizable. I'm really excited to show you kind of like how we use the narrative within for our different educators and how educators have used it and how you can really adapt it to your own students. And then I'll also show you how it's collaborative. So, the ability to share data and reproduce analyses. So I am, let's see, interested. Okay, yes, let's see, I didn't skip one, did I? No. Okay, so for those of you who do not have a KBase account yet, I'm going to walk you through how to log in and sign up for a KBase account real quick and direct you to our documentation page. If you already have an account, feel free to jump onto the KBase Educators org as we get there, because there are some new resources in there that you'll be able to check out. Sorry. Okay, so signing up for KBase. Again, you're going to go to the KBase home screen, which I'll demonstrate, and up in either the upper left right-hand corner, there's a sign up or a login button. If that menu on top is condensed, you're going to have a little hamburger menu, and you'll open that, and it will open what you can see on the right-hand side of the screen, where there is a different like sign up and login button. And that is going, the steps you'll go through is once you have hit that sign up button, you can check out our documentation page. We have a step-by-step sign up guide, and this walks you through how to start that new account. So you'll hit the sign up for a new account, and you have a few different options for how to sign in. These include Google, so you can just use your regular Google account. You can also use your ORCID account and Globus. And if you do sign in with one of them, for instance, here is an example for signing in with Google. You'll go through and you'll accept any of the terms and conditions for using KBase. And then once you are in KBase and you have that account, you can also go back and you can link your other accounts, such as your ORCID account, especially if you're looking to publish or use KBase for publishing. We're working towards working with ORCID and being able to get digital object identifiers or DOIs associated with your narratives to help support any publications, especially around methods and data releases. So what that looks like is here, you'll have that sign up button and you'll click there, and this will open the KBase, your KBase account, or log you into KBase, which, that's my documentation page, which will just look like this. So you can see I'm going through the login. And here, when you first log in, you'll see the menu on the left-hand side pop up where you'll see narratives, organizations, the catalog, search, different jobs. This is where the job logs are, your account information. This is where you'll go if you want to go back and associate your ORCID or any other accounts. Like you can link multiple Google or Gmail accounts or email accounts to your KBase profile, and then feeds, which is just information about any of the narratives that or organizations that you belong to. So again, here are my narratives. So this is all of what the narratives I've created that belong to me. And if you're interested in accessing the K-Base educators narratives, they are available here under the orgs page. So if you click on orgs, that'll open up the organizations. And once that opens up the orgs, you can go through and you can search for the educators org. So right now, the default, it goes to my organizations versus all organizations. So you'll have to go over to the filter to click all orgs. So you just click right there. And then to find the educators org, you can either search for educators. You can also click on the link that Alicia shared in the chat, which will get you there a little faster. Once you have searched all organizations for the K-Base educators org, you'll click on that. And this is what opens the organization for all our educators. So this is where all of our narratives are stored. These are all the different workflows. There is a little bit of about information. This does have some information on how to join the org. So if you're watching this at a later date, please send us an email to engage@kbase.us and provide us a little bit of information so that we can let you into the organization, and you'll send a request and we'll get an alert for that so that we can share the organization with you, and then you can access all of these 59 narratives that are available within the org. Another way to get here to the K-Base educators org is through our landing page. So I did show this very briefly. This is the K-Base educators landing page. So this is here's a link for where you can join the organization. This is also where all of our other resources live. So under here, we have our K-Base educators handbook, which I'll walk through, the educators org, which I'll go into a bit more detail in, as well as a playlist on our educators it's our K-Base YouTube channel, but we have a specific playlist for educators, and this webinar will actually go on there for all the educators. On our webpage, we also have our publication, which, again, we have some of our co-authors on that here, and then some spotlights on some of our contributing members of our community. So this is where all of the really handy information is for the K-Base educators org, and you can also get here through our Engage page. Again, this is sort of like where all our events live. So other events that are happening, you can even log into the orgs page, and here's where our K-Base educators landing page, you can access it there. Okay, so I mentioned about some of the narratives and the different narratives that we have within the K-Base org. And so if you're new and just getting started, one of the most helpful narratives is going to be the concept overview. And these are all of the different workflows that we have. So if you're not yet in K-Base, you can access this narrative and take a look at the workflow and all of the different topics we do cover with our static narrative. So this is a narrative that is accessible outside of the K-Base platform. And this is one of the examples of something that you could use, you can use to associate with a publication. So from this, it includes the data as well as citations for any of the tools that you've used. So I can drop this link in the chat in case you haven't logged into K-Base. If you have, I just updated this the last week, because in addition to our prior workflows of genomics, metagenomics, metabolic modeling, pangenomes. We also have transcriptomics, which is the newest. Oh, and phylogenetics. I can't forget that workflow. So under here, we have all of the different concepts, and each of these are linked from this narrative. So you can access the different modules, which are separate narratives. So the narrative has been used to break down these larger workflows into separate chunks. And each of these chunks is designed to work for one particular class period. I mean, depending on how long you have, or if you want to assign different parts to students, that is up to you, but we've broken them down based on how long the different applications and tools take to run. And so we have all of the different workflows here. There's the genomics, metagenomics, phylogenetics, metabolic modeling, pangenomes, as well as the bacterial RNA-seq, which is our latest one, which is the transcriptomic narrative. Under here, we also have some different resources. So we have a resource that I'll demonstrate on formatting the narrative. So really using those markdown cells. These are the cells that you can add some different functionality by adding different text or images to the workflows. Really good for providing scaffolding for students. And we also have fundamental concepts and some different resources. And then linked here are also different documentation. So we have a link for the educator's landing page, as well as the handbook that I'll walk through, our documentation site, and our YouTube channel. And we also, if you are teaching a bit more advanced, we do have some narratives associated with multi-scale microbial dynamics modeling, and a course page that is available there. So all of these are available within the educators org, and you can use the search bar to find them, such as I'm going to show you the skeleton module. So if I search in the search date, I can find it there. I did have it open though, so I can just click over here and show you this. So this is a template for how we've designed the different educators, the different narratives, or how we're adapting the narratives for instructors. And so here you can see we have just some usual learning objectives, which are learning goals, the different concepts and topics, an activity description. This is a really nice snapshot just to give you a view of what's happening within each of the different narratives. And then underneath there, we have a markdown guide. And so this is going to be really useful if you haven't used Markdown before. So what you would do, if you're viewing this narrative, you're going to see it in view only mode. So it will look like this. You'll see the little eyeball next to your username, and then you'll have this copy button and it will say view only. So what you'll need to do is you'll click this copy, and this will actually make a new narrative that you can then have it in edit mode. And to see what the markdown looks like on the other side, you can see here, I've added in some different colors, images. You will double click on the markdown cell, and this will uncover what the markdown language looks like. And from here, you can actually go in and you can copy the markdown language and then edit the different text within there. So it's really useful. We also, on our documentation page, have some more information on using Markdown and HTML language if you're interested in adapting more or making some more complex workflows. It's also really helpful if you are interested in publishing. So within each of the narratives, we've provided some scaffolding for how you can go through and develop your own workflows, adding in some scientific background, having a table of contents, which can be within the narrative itself and can also link to other narratives that are associated. So I'll demonstrate this more with the RNA-seq module. And then under there, You're going to have the information on the data that you're using, the data that you're working with. As you can see here, there's a GIF embedded within this narrative. And then below that, going through and discussing, different data that you're using, how you're going to use the data, adding different applications, as well as, results. And there's also some more markdown language on how we've highlighted questions, different types of questions that we have thought about as, or the instructors have thought about adding, and then some other recommendations, such as adding in the next module. So just having a link to that next module that's in the workflow. So these are an example of 2 of the resources that we do have for instructors that are available. I'm going to show you some parts of the handbook, and I'll go into more of it later as well. So again, the link for the handbook lives on our educators landing page. So if you go to the educators handbook, this will open up a PDF of our educators handbook. And so within the handbook, you have a few different items. There's information on how to join the educators org, code of conduct, and resources for getting started, as well as our best practices guide and more about the community and working with the community. So again, you can see here, there's some information on how to join. And I do want to highlight this really important piece. If you are new to joining the org, the educators org, and you see a narrative that you have not yet opened before, what you'll do is it will say that you have no access, but you do because you are in the educators org and you belong as a member. So what you'll do is you'll click for view access button, and that will enable it so that you can then click on the narrative name and open any of those narratives. So within the org itself, you can see I don't have any click for view access, and that means that I can just click on the name of any of these narratives, and that will open the narrative. So I do want to highlight that because I know that can be a little bit of it's a bit I guess it's a bit counterintuitive when you read that you don't have access, but you do. So you can check that out. We also, for our educators, we do host a user Slack, and we have a special education channel. So if you are interested in joining our education channel, we have a lot of really good chatter. There's some really good support from other educators here. I highly recommend, send us an email and we can get you the link to join. You can also let us know at KBase, if you have any classes coming up, when you tend to teach, so that we have an idea of when your students will be on the platform and using it. And we also will let you know, when any downtime might be coming up, making sure that we don't have any anything scheduled for immediately during your classes. Again, there are some other resources. So we have getting started if you're new to KBase, if you need any help, links here within the handbook, links to our YouTube channel and documentation, the educators page, and then some of the other items there. And then within the handbook, we also have our best practices guide. So this walks you through how to create an org for your class. So just as we're using orgs for the educators, this way you can share your narratives with just your class. So you can create your own class organization, and I can demonstrate how to do that. And again, I have a little reminder on accessing narratives here. And we have a bit more information on the logistics between copying and sharing narratives and setting up anything for your course. So we have some helpful hints on, if you're strapped for time, what do we suggest that you do? Maybe setting up a bit more of a cooking show versus if you're really wanting your students to be involved, or if they're a bit more advanced, the ability to remove some of the scaffolding that we've built into those workflows, or creating your own workflow. And then a little bit more on planning. And then we also have some links to surveys for student feedback. And that is where I'll end there before I go into a bit more on our contribution guide. So at this moment, I just want to do a quick check-in and see if we have any questions. Okay. Well, it looks like we have an answered question from Carlos. After transcriptomics. So I figured I would just check in with everybody and see if you have any questions, again, for getting involved and joining the org. This is for the general how to log into KBase, search for educators in the all orgs, making sure the all orgs button is selected, requesting to join, and then letting us know. So if you email us at engage@kbase.us, tell me that you would like to join the community, including your KBase username, any information that will help us support you. And then also letting us know if you want to join our Slack workspace. We do have that educators channel. And then we have a really handy guide that will has any recommendations for how to use KBase or how to use Slack. Sorry, we have our own documentation for how to use KBase. We have a really handy guide for using Slack, especially with the community, and if you're not used to using Slack. Otherwise, so let's see. I don't think any questions, and I can also I can pause the recording real quick too if you have any questions that you don't want, and I can also edit those portions out. But I just want to give a little space and time in case anyone wanted to ask a question. Okay. Yes, as Alicia's saying, yeah, no stupid questions. I adhere to that. Because I know I'm somebody who always asks everything.
Yeah, I just wanted to bring that up because we have quite a range of people on this call, which is amazing. Like, we've got people that started with us when we were just figuring out what this looked like, to some new people whose names I didn't recognize. So all across the board, all questions are welcome. This community is really, really great at, as Carlos said, responding in the Slack in a timely fashion. And so there are no dumb questions. We're all trying to figure this out together.
Yeah, and to Alicia's point, I'm trying to figure out how to best support everybody here. So okay, well, I do have a little bit.
Hey, Ellen.
Yes.
Ellen, this is JP.
Hi, JP.
I was just wondering, from your perspective, because you have seen it all from different people participated, what is a good starting point for somebody who is just learning about these resources? Where like to avoid that getting completely overwhelmed and say, no, this is completely too much. Where is a good starting point that people can go to?
That is a great question. So I mean, I'm always somebody who reads the documentation first, but I know that can also kind of get people, get you caught up. So I would say the first place to really start is to just figure out what the narrative is, especially if it's something new. So on our documentation page, okay, there, I was like, did I close it? We do have a few different, we have a quick start guide, which is really useful. This, this just breaks down like what the narrative is. how to navigate it, how to use it. And this is both helpful for you and your students, because I know, just getting familiarizing yourself with a new platform, if you haven't used it before, that's going to be the biggest thing. Again, as I've seen, students are really fast at learning it, from high school, through graduate student level. So they'll I don't know, at least from what I've seen, high school students will pick it up really, really fast. And then once you're there, once you're sort of familiar with what KBase is, you can watch some of our other playlists on YouTube. We have a lot of different webinars. I would go into the org and I would probably check out the genome module, and I'll just open this up. This is probably some of the topics that people are most familiar with, or might come in with more of an understanding. Steve Biller wrote these, and so there's 4 different narratives, and you can go through and create your own and kind of run the different applications. This will give you some experience on just running different applications. There's a bit more information about the data that's used here, and he has some really good background information on just how to do what shotgun sequencing is, and then walks you through how to import data, or if the data has already been imported, and then really walks you through a quality report, and you can actually go through, create your own, and reset these different applications. So that's what I would do. I would kind of play around in KBase and figure out how it works and how to use it. And then from there, you can sort of go through and adapt. And I think that's the biggest part. I mean, just like using any new curriculum with your students, it's figuring out what works and what doesn't, and sharing with us what does work and what doesn't. Because if you share with us, we might be able to put it into our handbook, which can be really useful for other instructors. Like I said, we do have some ideas behind planning. So we kind of have, talk about, what are your goals? Do you have a lot of time to spare? Do you not have a lot of time? Are you trying to cover as much as you possibly can, or is it really specific? So those are I think my top points are, go to the quick start guide, read through the handbook, and then walk through some of the modules that we have. And then again, on our YouTube page, we have a lot of different webinars as well as some tutorials. So we have, how to use the narrative. We have guides on uploading and downloading data, creating organizations, sharing data. We also have some information with the new features around bulk import, which is a way that you can import a lot of data at once. So those are all available within our documentation.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. I mean, I think, yeah, well, from what I've seen, yeah, students seem to pick everything up quite quickly. Thank you. So we just got a great chat in the or a great comment in the chat where someone had recruited 4 undergrads to work as a team and gave them a manual on how to use KBase, and 3 out of 4 had no issues, and then the 4th one did not read, didn't do the reading. So that's always the big one. We are going to transition to new resources and resources that already exist. So again, I'll walk you through a few different sections of the handbook. For those of you who skipped the first half, we do have an educator's webpage that launched this last year. And we have some new workflows, as well as I wanted to direct you all to some microbial resource and microbiology resource announcement templates that we have available. See, didn't mean for that to be animated. But again, those of you who are familiar with some of our resources, our workflows that we do have are genomics, metagenomics, phylogenetics, pangenomics, metabolic modeling, and now, most recently, transcriptomics. And these are all available within the educators org. So let's see, going to go again, remind everyone about our educators landing page. So this is where you can access the educators handbook, as well as the org for any information that you're looking for. And again, there is that playlist for our YouTube channel. So the newer, I think I'm going to first pivot to the new resources that are in our org. And in here we have, hopefully this doesn't log me out. We now have this bacterial RNA-seq modules, and these are spread across 4 different learning modules. So these are some instructor versions of the narratives. They are spread across 4 different modules. And the reason that they are broken up the way they are is based on timing and how long it takes some of the apps to run. So I'll point that out of where we've broken up those different pieces. So the first one is data organization and quality control, quality check. Then it goes into read trimming, read alignments, and then assembly and differential expression. And so these narratives themselves, all these modules are put together by Kevin Myers, who is one of our newer community members. I think he joined this past spring and have put together some RNA-seq workflows along with Tim Paustian, based at the University of Wisconsin-Madison. So we're really excited to have these available for everyone. I know these were of interest to some educators about 2 years ago when we were first kicking off, and now they exist. They're in their actuality. So that's really neat and really exciting. And within each of these narratives, we have some background information about the data itself. So where the data so where like the data was processed and where it came from. And then we have, in this first narrative, there is some information and background on RNA-seq. So Kevin wrote in some really good information on RNA-seq libraries, which is helpful, especially if, for your students or if it's your first time checking out RNA-seq data. And so all this data is available here within these narratives. You'll go through and you can edit as you see fit when you decide to adapt these for your classroom. He wrote in some really great instructions. So there's really specific instructions as to creating a sample set within KBase, and then how to go through and assess read quality. And he put in some different questions for students and to answer within the class. So this first one is, again, just data organization and quality control. This is a really good orientation to the data that students will be working with. Then in the second module, students go through and do some read trimming. So there's, again, a bit of a background about this particular module and going through and trimming the reads to clean them up. And so the reason that this module is set aside by itself is because it does take almost 40 minutes to run with this particular data set. So we wanted to just set it aside by itself. And you can check out the run times here. So all these apps that have been run, if you go to the job status tab, it will tell you how long the job ran for there. So if you are, trying to figure out how long you have for a class and like what, apps you can run, what analysis you can do with your students, what might be a good period to, pause for a lecture or pause at the end of the day. This is a really handy tool. Again, it's going to depend on the data set itself, and there will be some dependence on how long the queue is for. So you can tell here, this dramatic ran almost instantly because there was the analysis run was only in the queue for 9 seconds. Oh, and there it's loading. Okay, now we're gonna have the fun. My narratives are all reloading time period. So after trimming, then we're going to need to log back into KBase, which is why I logged in earlier. There, okay. Let's see. Should be the narrative. Let's see if this will open for me. If not, I have everything linked, so I can easily open them again. I just might need to sign in. I'm curious though, do you want to give a show of Zoom hands on if anyone does teach RNA-seq? Because I'm interested in if anyone here is has. Carlos is a kind of.
To do it, but I'm scared. So this provides some incentive and framework.
Good. Yeah, maybe I know we should have, I think we do have some RNA-seq like transcriptomics. I mean, we have a lot of good background information within the documentation on running that itself. But if it is a new topic, it's always, it's always a learning curve to pick up something new and then share it with your students. Okay, now that I'm back, I'm back and logged in. So after you do the trimming, then you have this narrative that goes through a read alignment. Again, it has just like a little bit of instructor notes on how to use the narratives. A little bit of like, don't forget to do this beforehand, because Kevin has also put in some answers for the different modules. So he has like the answer to question 9, which is up here, which is also really handy. So you kind of have your own answer key within each of the modules, but when you're sharing them with students, you have to go through, you can easily delete a cell by clicking on the 3 dots, that little menu, and you can click delete and that will remove a cell. So this read alignment goes through, in this particular application, he uses HiSat2 to align the reads and receive a quality map report. And then in the final module, this is really when you get into, I guess, the meat of RNA-seq analysis, where there is assembly and then differential expression. And the tools that are used, first you're going to assemble using string tie. That is the tool that Kevin used within his workflow. And then differential expression using DSeq2, differential expression DSeq2. So within each of these different applications, Kevin was really great and went through and wrote each of the different parameters that are set. He wrote some like why the parameters are set in each of the ways for this particular data set. And then you can see that within the RAN app, how each of the, what parameters were selected. He was also pretty specific about what he labeled the data objects as. So as the data moves through the workflow, you can pair the initial names he gave with the newer names or the outputs from each of the analysis tools. And then if you're interested in learning more about the tools themselves in the narrative, you can click on the info tab, and this has a bit of documentation, and there's also a full documentation page that you can access here. And then again, the job status tab, which will tell you how long the tool ran for. So differential expression ran pretty quick, under 3 minutes. So that's why you have a few different analyses that students will do within this particular module. And then finally, there is the results tab, which has all the results from running this analysis. So it goes through creating up and down expression sets, creating these different expression matrices. And then finally, the final step is creating a heat map of the differentially expressed genes. And so he walks you through a few of the different options that you can run, and gives a bit more information on the outputs for these different heat maps. So here's a very large output object within this particular narrative. And so this is the entire bacterial RNA-seq workflow. Again, these are all accessible within the org. And I need to show you again where to find those within the KBase org. So if you go to our org, go to the KBase educators org. If you do belong, it should show up when you click on the orgs tab. It will show up once you do belong to the educators org. And as these were the most recent narratives, if you're sorting by date added, they're going to be these top 4 narratives right now. So bacterial-seq, bacterial RNA-seq, and we have the 4 modules: data organization and quality control, read trimming, read alignment, and then the assembling and differential expression. And so Kevin did a great job on this. If you do have any feedback or any comments, please, if you're part of the KBase educators Slack channel, he is in there, so you can send him a message. You can also email us at engage@kbase.us, and then we can help get some feedback. Again, these are iterative, so we're always looking to grow and improve these different modules. And so if you have any feedback on other modules, we're happy to take that information and run with it. So let's see. And we do have a bit more information on contributing through our contribution guide. So if you have a workflow or ideas for a workflow that you would like to see in KBase, we have some information on working groups and what a working group looks like. If you're interested in solo work and contributing something or doing some editing, that is also welcome. Just reach out to us at engage@kbase.us or through through the educator Slack channel. We have a bit more information on co-working. Also, if you're interested in like any highlights, if you want to share something that you've done with your students, or have done or want to share something that you've done with KBase, we're more than happy to share that and highlight that with the greater KBase community. And then we also have a few other items such as publishing, as well as conferences and webinars. So if you're interested in representing KBase at a conference, please reach out to us, and we're happy to help you make sure any language or get you our KBase logo on a nice high resolution. We're happy to share that with all of you. And then for publishing, we have been working with microbiology resource announcements, as I said before, and we have 2 templates. They are being iterated right now by my colleague, Zach Crockett. And you can actually open these links from the, open these templates from the handbook, as I was, got those hot links to work. And so this is one of the examples. This is the metagenome assembled genomes, or MAGS template. The isolated genome also looks really similar. But here, Zach has written some information on using the narratives, how to go through publishing, getting support for your publications with KBase. He has some information on what to do in those different steps. And then within the narrative itself, he walks through, he has a great checklist and each of the different steps that you need to take that are associated with if you're publishing with MRA. So again, there's the mags, and there's also the isolate version of these. And with that, our resources. So don't forget, we have the KBase Educators landing page, which is, if you go at kbase.us/engage/educators, then there is the educators.org. Of course, then we have kbase.us, documentation, the help board. So this links from the KBase website. So it has the information on how to submit a ticket with support. We also have some great documentation on submitting a ticket and what information is most useful to us when you do on our documentation. Then of course, there is the YouTube channel. We post any webinars that are coming up on our kbase.us/learn page. I don't think it's up yet, but we do have a genome-based analysis, which is going to, I think, be a 3-parter. And the first part is in 2 weeks on August 17th. Same time, it will be recorded if you can't make it. But more to come. And if you want to know when that sign up registration link is out, follow us on Twitter. That's where you'll get all the latest and greatest from KBase and any news that's happening, as well as our email listserv, of course. And with that, I'm going to again ask if there are any questions. I am going to stop the recording now as well, so that I won't have to edit that out. So thank you all.
Thanks for watching this webinar. For more webinars and tutorials, subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can see announcements for upcoming webinars and recordings for previous webinars on our website at kbase.us/learn. Let us know in the comments what content you'd like to see in future webinars. Be sure to follow us on Twitter at DOE-KBase. And if you have questions or encounter an error when using KBase, please contact the help desk.